Hi everybody, I am back with the pie plate part 2, and I am going to be guiding you through the next section of how to think about this unit circle in terms of degrees and in terms of radians. So you should have labeled the coordinate plane, you should have labeled the origin and those points where the XY axis intersects with that circle. You should have labeled the elements or the points at 45-degree angles, which are on the lighter sections of the fold. You should have 90, 180, 270 also marked, as well as 45, 135, 225, and 150 marked. I realize that this might be coming up backwards for you, but hopefully this is helpful at least a little bit. All right, so now what we're going to do is take our special right triangles, the 30, 60, 90 triangle, and set it inside of our plate. And what we're going to mark then is where that 30-degree angle would be. So you're going to mark on the outside of your plate. If you line the triangle up on the plate, you're going to mark where 30 degrees would be. Right here in quadrant 1, 30 degrees is where that triangle sits, right there at that dark mark. Okay. Remember now that the lengths of the sides of these triangles, the legs, are always in that same ratio of x root 3, and 2x. So if the hypotenuse is equal to 1, and that equals 2x, then x equals 1/2, and that would be the length of the shorter side, the side opposite 30. So that side is going to be 1/2, and then the length of the longer leg, the horizontal correspondent, is 3 square roots of 2. So now we have this triangle that sits inside of this unit circle that corresponds to points on the circle. That point on the circle with a radius of 1 right there at 30 degrees, because I'm going over square root of 3 over 2 and up 1/2, has a coordinate point in space that is over the square root of 3 over 2, so square root of 3, comma, 1/2. So I'm just taking the lengths of the legs of the triangle, and in essence, converting that into a point in space on my pie plate. Okay, I can do the same thing with the 45, 45, 90. So the 45-degree triangle sits right here in space, and it corresponds to exactly where the fold is on my paper. If the radius is 1, in other words, if the length of the hypotenuse is 1, then those sides are going to be the square root of 2 over 2 and the square root of 2 over 2. So the lengths of the legs are root 2 over 2, and I'm going over root 2 over 2 and up root 2 over 2 to get to the 45-degree angle. So the point that corresponds to where the arc intersects the 45-degree angle is the square root of 2 over 2, comma, square root of 2 over 2. And I'm going to label that point as well. Okay. Finally, I've got this 30, 60, 90 triangle, but it's really, we're going to think about it as a 60, 30, 90 triangle. Line it up with the origin. Okay, so I'm going to mark where 60 degrees is on my unit circle, and it should be just past 45. 60 degrees right there. And so what I've got is basically the markings of those 3 special right triangles, 30, 60, 90, 45, 45, 90, and 60, 30, 90. And the 60, 30, 90 has a hypotenuse of 1, which means, of course, a radius of 1, just 1 unit. And those ratios are going to be, well, opposite the 60-degree angle is going to be the length of the side is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. And opposite the smaller angle, the shorter side is going to be 1/2. So what I've got is a triangle that sits at this point with leg length square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2, which means that when I find that point on the circle or in the coordinate plane, I'm going over a distance of 1/2, and I'm going up a distance of square root of 3 over 2. So again, just to review, I'm on the coordinate plane, centered at the origin at 0, 0, and I'm taking the idea of the special right triangles that we talked about a couple days ago, and I'm putting that triangle inside of the unit circle and then making measurements on the circle. I call it a unit circle because it's just got a radius of 1 unit. Doesn't actually matter what the distance is, because no matter how big the circle is, the ratios are always the same. Okay, that's part 1, or 2 actually, part 2 of the pie plate that we are going to do. We can pause here and come back to this in a little while. Thanks, everybody.